Every summer Top 100. Every summer Top 100. He's got a voice that's really the bomb. He'll make a choice that'll aggravate Tom. I hate to spoil it, but when all's said and done, Merchant of Venus gonna be number one.
Hey, so we're mere moments from announcing the winners of the Dice Tower Awards for this year. You can see us. Here we are. Check it out. Look at all those people. I'm excited to find out who the winners are. The big question is, are any of my top 100 candidates winners in this year's awards? I don't know that, but you might know that, which makes you future Eric. Here are number 40 through 31.
40. Firefly.
Yeah! Number 40 is Firefly, and I know this doesn't say Firefly on it, but this is Broken Token's giant crate. This is really heavy. In Firefly, it's based on the television program. You are picking up and delivering things in space, but you're also having adventures. You're sort of you're pushing your luck a lot. There's a very distinct sense of adventure in Firefly. And you're flying around the verse and trying to avoid the Reavers and be more efficient than your opponents. There's also scenarios. It's a scenario-based game. And so some scenarios may be about just earning straight-up cash. Others are about achieving certain objectives as you fly around. I think this game beautifully captures the feel of the television show. And it's a pretty cool game, too. It can be a little on the long side. I tend to prefer playing the scenarios that are a little faster, a little more straightforward. But if you're really in for an epic adventure, this game can provide that. And certainly, I like it enough to have built a crate around it. This is really heavy. Number 40, Firefly.
39. I am Batman. Ha ha ha. Terra Mystica.
Number 39 is in my group's collection, not mine. That is Terra Mystica, a game where you mold the landscape to your will. You're given a fantasy race. You might be mermaids, you might be dwarves, elves, whatever. And each plays a little bit differently. You've got a player mat that has sort of a mana flow that you're trying to manage and make efficient, and it's definitely an efficiency game, which, certainly appeals to me. I like trying to make my faction work the way I want it to, but ultimately you're transforming the landscape to match what you like. So you might really like a dirt landscape, and so you're affecting different tiles, different sections of the board so that you can then build on those things, and you're plopping down buildings and claiming territory for your own and trying to get a better board presence than your opponents. It's got a lot of action selection aspects to it, a lot of resource management. You are sort of affecting the things on your board so that it's more efficient and things work better, and it has a lot of those cool buttons to push that I really enjoy in these styles of games. Just another quick shot of the board here from Google Image Search once again. I love it. Wait a minute. These are expansion components. I haven't played the expansion yet. No wonder that didn't look right. It looked like Settlers of Catan. Anyway, I love this game. It's a blast to explore all the different races and really try and optimize them every time you're given a new race to play with. It's a blast to play. It's my number 39, Terra Mystica.
38. Eclipse.
It's sort of funny that Eclipse comes right after Terra Mystica in the list, because many of the same things appeal to me in this game that appeal to me in Terra Mystica. You've got lots of fantasy races, lots of aliens here in Eclipse, and each one plays a little differently, strengths and weaknesses. In Eclipse, this is a 4X game where you are sort of expanding your territory on a galactic map. The real draw here for me is a set of technologies. You've got different techs that can be incorporated into your various classes of ships. And as you acquire stronger weapons, better engines, more hull, you can incorporate those into the design of those ships. And so if I place a really strong laser on a particular class of ship, now all of that class of ship that I build on the board has that same schematic. And so if I make an upgrade, they all get upgraded. And I can make tiny little machine gun ships that just shoot a whole bunch of missiles but have no hull whatsoever. Or I can, build tanks that I know are going to survive many hits and can last many rounds in a fight. It's really cool. This one doesn't hit the table as much, partially due to its play length. Also, you kind of want to play with a number of races, a number of people to play this one. This one's a ways away from my children enjoying it for sure. But when I am given the opportunity to play Eclipse, I am delighted to do so. It's my number 38, Eclipse.
37. Concordia.
Number 37 is a Mac Gertz game that doesn't use a rondel. It's called Concordia. This is, again, one that my game group has, so it's not in my collection. In Concordia, you have a deck, not really a deck, a hand, say, of cards that represent your actions. You're expanding on the board, you're moving your little dudes around and acquiring goods, trading goods. It's definitely a resource management game. But this stack of cards, this hand of cards, represents your actions, and one of those cards is take all those cards back. It's something that shows up in a lot of games. But one of the actions in the game is to acquire more of these cards. Okay, that makes sense too. It makes you more efficient in that particular style of action. Now, that's also your scoring. At the bottom of each of these cards is a scoring mechanism that maybe you want to have diversified goods, maybe you want to have more of a particular good, and you get bonuses for those. Maybe you want a better board presence with your guys, to get all of your guys out. Those are worth points. These are all represented on the cards, and for each card you have in your hand at the end of the game, that scoring will trigger. So if I get like 4 of a particular card, now I'm getting 4 points, or 4 times whatever the scoring mechanism would be. So you get to focus on the scoring that benefits you, as well as increasing your actions and ability to do those actions that will help you score those points. It's a really cool system. And I'm delighted every time I'm given the opportunity to play Concordia. It's my number 37.
36. Great Western Trail.
Number 36 is Great Western Trail. Now, of the 2 major Stronghold games, Euro games, that came out last year, I prefer this one to Terraforming Mars. I think it has a... I don't know, maybe I like the theme better, which seems surprising, because Western doesn't really do it for me, but I think this one really captures that feeling of driving cattle from the frontier off to market. You have a deck of cards that represent cattle, and you are trying to make that deck as lucrative as possible when you wind your way through the board and get to, I think it's Kansas City, right? Kansas City, it's at the end of the board. And once you get to Kansas City, you look at your hand, and the most unique, you're looking at unique cows, unique cattle in your hand, and trying to earn as many points as possible. So the whole board that you're winding your way around in action spaces that you hit as you work your way along, and once it's a one-way track, so once I hit this space, I can't go back to hit something over there. So I have to decide whether I'm moving quickly or moving slowly and hitting all the spaces, but meanwhile people are passing me. You then are winnowing down what the cards in your hand, making that hand of cards as strong as possible, so that when you get to market, you can score as many points as possible, claim a space on the score track, and then go back and do it again. You're buying buildings to give you more actions, to mess with your opponents, make it more expensive for your opponents to go buy. Just the whole engine, the whole system, just hums. It's really, really cool. If you haven't had a chance to play this one, definitely do so. Number 36, Great Western Trail, one of my favorites of 2016.
35. Origins. Or does it say Orleans?
It says Orléans. It's French.
Oh, man.
Origins. 35 is also not in my collection. It's in the group's collection. It is Orléans from Tasty Minstrel Games. Orléans is a bag building game. You start out with an assortment of characters. They're all in a bag, and each turn you pull out a certain number of them, and these are the actions you can take. You place them on a cool board, and depending on the combinations that you have played, you can then take more actions, which usually include you acquiring more of these little tokens, more people to put in your bag, to then cycle back around. And so you're sort of creating an engine and trying to make that all work. My favorite way to play Orleans is with the cooperative expansion, where you're trying to defend the city against a horde of invaders, and you have to collect equipment, and you have to collect supplies, and go around the board and put up towers all around and get soldiers up on the board. You are sort of winnowing down the characters. In addition to getting them into your bag, you're trying to get rid of them efficiently to focus your bag on what you want to do. But whether you play it competitively or cooperatively, the system is really strong. You can sense a theme here. I love these engine building games where you get to make an efficient system that then does what you want it to do, and Orleans is definitely one of those games. And yeah, it's one that I probably could play with my family as well. This one isn't too difficult to understand. It's learning to do it well, there's the trick. But it's pretty simple. You pull the tokens from the bag, and here's what you can do. You place them here, and then you get to take that action, and now you get a little dude. It makes sense. I want to play it right now. Just talking about it. Number 35, Orleans.
34. Codenames.
Number 34 is Codenames. You have an array of words that you're trying to get your teammates to guess. And you sort of have a card that says, well, these 9 or 8 words in this grid are the ones you have to get your teammates to guess. And you're giving word clues, one-word clues, in order to get them to guess that. But you really don't want to go for one word at a time. You're trying to get multiple words at a time. So you're trying to find connections amongst these words that will help your teammates guess them. But you don't want them to guess the wrong words, because not only might they guess the other team's words, there's also an assassin in the grid that if you guess the assassin, you lose. Bad. You don't want that. There is the original Codenames, there is Codenames Pictures, which replaces the words with images, and then there's the brand new Codenames Duet, which I still haven't played. I just got this back from Gen Con, and haven't played this. I'm intending to play this with my son, because I think it'll be an interesting challenge working with his 9-year-old vocabulary and try and make progress in the game. Haven't played this one yet, but the other two are excellent and fantastic family games, ones that I can bring out with just about anybody and have a successful game night. This is a big hit with the family, and it's my number 34. Vlaada Chvátil's Codenames.
33. Paperback.
33 is a delightful deck-building game that is also a word game. It's called Paperback. It's from Tim Fowers. You have cards that represent letters, and on your turn you will try and assemble a word from those letters. You start out with a whole bunch of wild cards, as well as some, R, S, T, L, N. I think those are your starting cards, and a bunch of wilds. So it's not that difficult to make words, but you're trying to make words that earn you as many points as possible. You then spend those points, coins, on more words or more letters that get added to your deck. And the letters that you start buying also have special powers that give you bonuses and let you draw more cards and buy more than one card. There's also some group letters. There's some group vowels that you compete for. If you make a 7-letter word, say at the beginning of the game, you then get to acquire a cool communal letter that goes into your deck and then reveals another communal letter that everybody else can use. There's lots of deck builders out there, and there's lots of word games out there, but this one combines them in a really nice, charming way. There's all these, and in fact you can see some of them here, there's all these fake book covers that are in the game. These are the scoring cards that you acquire to eventually earn points in the whole thing. And the illustrations are just, they all look like old school pulp titles in all these different genres. It's such a solid game. I love it. I adore it. I'm so glad that I was able to play this at Dice Tower Con a few years ago, and immediately, in fact, I was given a copy of this. I love it. I love it. I love it. The app is good too. Paperback, my number 33. 32, pulling into the station.
Flip City.
My number 32 is also a deck builder, and it's also in my quiver. I saw one of the YouTube comments from a previous installment that wanted to know what else is in this thing. Well, one of them is my number 32, and that is Flip City. Flip City is a deck builder that has, let me pull one out here. I'm never going to be able to put this back, but they're two-sided cards. So this side is the archaeology site, and then you can flip it over, and it's the logging site. Each of these has different mechanisms for how you turn them over. So you start out with your cards oriented a particular way, and then as you purchase cards, as you spend coins to flip cards, now the arrangement of some of the cards is different. Sometimes it's a game mechanism that flips it. You get some sort of benefit for flipping it back. It's almost, again, it's an engine that you are working through to try and get your cards arranged the way you want them to, and eventually earn enough victory points, which are relatively rare in this game, earn enough victory points to win. You're trying to get 8 VP. Depending on which cards you're playing with, you may also be able to win with a push your luck aspect by playing, 18 cards? If you can play 18 cards in one turn without busting, there's these frowny faces. If you get too many frowny faces, you're done. Your turn's over. So there's a real push your luck aspect. As you flip cards and play cards, you may be forced to play cards which can push you over the edge, but a very small footprint as far as box size. I mean, if you're not hauling it around with 6 other card games in a quiver, very small footprint. Charming little game. Flip City, number 32.
31. Race for the Galaxy.
Number 31 is a game that I will admit I find a little intimidating. Players who are very good at Race for the Galaxy tend to play faster than I do, but if I'm allowed to take my time, I love trying to figure out the interactions between all the different cards, trying to sift through what I want to keep in my hand. This is a game in which you're building a tableau of different planets, but in order to pay for many of these planets and these actions, you are spending some of the other cards in your hand. You're creating an economy where some of these planets produce resources, which you can then sell to earn victory points, and again, you're trying to do this more efficiently than your opponents. It also has an action selection mechanism, kind of like Puerto Rico, in which you can choose a particular action, and you will get a stronger version of that action, while everybody else also gets to do that action. So you have to choose the thing that you want to do really badly, but also the thing you don't think others are going to choose, because you're still going to get to do that action because others will choose it. Yes. I do also stick with just the first arc. Race for the Galaxy has branched off with other expansions, and in fact, I could even scale this back to maybe just the first or second expansion. Still, with those cards, there is a lot of variety. There is a lot of gameplay, and just based on the other people I've played with, there's a lot of ways to make me feel intimidated. Still, this one's going to be a fun one to introduce to my kids when they're just a little older. I think that my eldest will enjoy the tableau building and trying to build a better engine than Dad, and he'll probably do better than me, and that will make me feel better. Anyway, Race for the Galaxy, number 31. When else do you get to do a top 100 in front of a giant screen like that? Not every day, I'm telling you. I'll see you next time.
He's got a voice that's really the bomb. He'll make a choice that'll aggravate Tom. I hate to spoil it, but when all's said and done, Merchant of Venus gonna be number one. Every summer, top 100.